O Grupo Energy Telecom, através de suas 4 empresas, atua em todo o Brasil, integrando os principais serviços e soluções quando pensamos em tecnologia. Projetos de Public Cloud, comunicação unificada, Big Data, infraestrutura, Data Center, Client License, Cybersecurity e educação. Você pode contar com o Grupo Energy Telecom, sempre a melhor solução.
Nós protegemos a tecnologia para você explorar novas realidades. Fazer o que quiser, quando quiser. Fazer amigos virtuais. Estar perto, mesmo estando longe. E conquistar novas fronteiras. Garantimos sua segurança digital para um futuro melhor. Kaspersky. Bring on the future.
Vale do Paraíba, uma região única com múltiplas vocações. A nossa é a tecnologia, é a inovação. Nós somos a NIP-BR. Trabalhamos para integrar, conectar, expandir, informar, entreter. A NIP-BR é solução corporativa, é internet, TV por assinatura, é telefonia digital. Os melhores serviços com o melhor custo-benefício. NIP-BR, sua melhor opção em internet, telefonia e TV por assinatura.
Você é daqueles que acham que ser moderno é ter um aplicativo para cuidar do seu dinheiro? É também. Agora, moderno mesmo é fazer parte de um grupo de pessoas que cooperam e crescem juntas.
Tem gente que acha que um bom atendimento é ter um gerente pronto para te ajudar. Nada mal, né? Mas pra gente ter voz e participar das decisões relacionadas ao nosso dinheiro.
Tem gente que acha que somos um banco. Somos muito mais. Somos feitos de valores.
Our infrastructure and natural resources can't keep up with growing demands. We need to be smarter. We need to care more. It's time to create smart infrastructure. We can because we connect energy systems, buildings, and industries to adapt and evolve the way we live and work for the good of the planet and the people. Creating environments that care. Smart infrastructure from Siemens.
A maior rede de pesquisas do mundo, com 5,5 bilhões de acessos por dia. Uma rede social avaliada em 70,7 milhões. Sabe qual a semelhança entre essas empresas? O investimento em softwares e algoritmos inteligentes. Tinova e SPS.
Na era da transformação digital, a Tria Software é o seu parceiro ideal. Trabalhamos com a aplicação de solução em software padronizada ou sob medida para melhorar o desempenho dos processos de sua empresa. Tria Software.
tudo bem? Boa tarde para você. Seguimos aqui com a transmissão ao vivo da 7ª RM Vale TI e também do 4º Fórum da Indústria Espacial Brasileira. E hoje chegamos ao último dia do nosso evento, pela parte da feira, um dia todo dedicado ao varejo. Teremos mais 2 painéis nesta tarde, a partir das 13h15. E agora a gente vai para o último painel do evento, do Fórum da Indústria Espacial Brasileira. Lembrando que esse painel será em inglês, então se você precisar, basta ativar a nossa tradução simultânea. Ela fica nesse ícone aqui na parte de cima do site, o ícone do globo. Basta você ativar para você receber aí a tradução simultânea. E você também pode conversar aqui com os nossos palestrantes, aqui embaixo, olha, pelos comentários. Então coloque a sua sugestão ou então a sua dúvida, que a nossa produção envia diretamente aqui aos nossos palestrantes. E o último painel do evento desse ano vai falar sobre novas abordagens para o setor espacial. Vamos falar então com os nossos palestrantes, saber se eles já estão aqui posicionados. Júnior Guilhermo Alvin, hello, welcome. E o José Moreira, que vai ser o nosso moderador. O José, ele é chefe da unidade de negócios de controle de movimento no Brasil, da Siemens. Então, um bom painel para vocês. A good job for you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to this webinar session. So, our topic today is the new approaches for the space sector. My name is José Moreira. I'm head of Digital Enterprise Unit at Siemens Brazil, and I'm really glad to be the moderator of this session. Well, the space sector is changing very fast. The private sector is getting more importance in the last years. And this is changing the dynamic of the sector. The private companies are developing new technologies and new models to deal in this market. They have a completely and very different way to see the space, how they do business, and how to build the future of this sector. So, together with us to discuss this interesting topic today, we have Joseph Francis from Relativity Space, Alvin Alexander from Orion Applied Science and Technology, and Guilherme Nogueira from Allen Space. So let's start the presentations with Francis. So please, share with us your ideas, Francis.
Thanks, Jose, and it's a pleasure to be able to speak with everyone and supporting the Brazilian Space Agency. I really appreciate the invite and look forward to giving everyone an overview of relativity space and then hopefully answering any questions that anyone may have. As Jose mentioned, my name is J.R. Francis. I'm Director of Business Development at Relativity Space. And so I just wanted to give a quick overview of Relativity Space and our Terran 1 rocket. For those of you who are not aware of Relativity Space, we were founded with a mission to create a machine, our 3D printer Stargate, to build the future of humanity in space faster. And so we are developing the Terran 1 small launch vehicle, which is capable of delivering 900 kilograms to a 500 kilometer reference sun-sync orbit. And just a quick overview of why we started, the founders started Relativity Space. In general, aerospace development has historically been slowing, while other industries have improved cycle times with increasing complexity. For example, aerospace, it takes anywhere from 60 to 180 months to develop, integrate, and test a product, where the automotive industry, for example, has decreased by a factor of 4, and the silicon fab industry has kind of stayed relatively the same for cycle product times, but while increasing complexity. So what the founders saw here is that there's an opportunity to innovate and be disruptive within the aerospace industry. And Relativity has invented a better way. So to the left, you'll see a traditional aerospace factory, which has very complex processes, fixed tooling, and large iteration times. So 24 months of typical build time with 48 months of traditional iteration time. They have a very complex supply chain and high physical complexity. Now, if you take a look to the right, Relativity Space, you can see our Stargate 3D printers on the right. And what's different is it's adaptable, it's scalable and autonomous, and it drastically reduces the part count and as well as the build and iteration time, and also has a very simplified supply chain. And what's the overall value proposition? The 3D printing process gives us several advantages over traditional manufacturing. As I mentioned, it has lower part count, while it also enhances reliability and improved material properties and reliability, and also has faster production time. So just a quick update on Run Relativity. We closed our Series C fundraising round in October of last year. That was a $140 million funding round, which brought our total fundraise to about $200 million. And that allows us to be fully funded for our first 2 flights. And you can see we're a venture-backed company, and the main leaders of our last fundraising round are shown below. We also, on the commercial side, we've also signed 5 customers with over 16 firm launches signed to date. A lot of these customers that are signed here will be familiar to a lot of the people on the phone who have on this call who have worked in the small satellite industry in the past. We have a agreement with Spaceflight and Momentus to do aggregated missions, and we most recently announced back in June a contract with Iridium to launch all 6 of their ground spares, which those satellites are built and on the ground today and are looking to launch no earlier than 2023. We also have agreements with Telesat to support their LEO constellation, as well as a company called NewSpace, who is an operator in Thailand. And most notably, it's not on the slide, but we also announced another launch deal with Lockheed Martin and NASA last week to support their tipping point solution. So that's another big win for us as well. Also, we have a good relationship with the U.S. government. We have test sites at our NASA Stennis facility that I'll touch on a little bit later in the presentation, as well as launch sites both in the Cape Canaveral, LC-16, and Vandenberg Air Force Base on the west coast of the United States. And also our founder, Tim Ellis, sits on the National Space Council here in the U.S., which is, he represents the only venture-backed company on the National Space Council. And just quickly to touch base a little bit more on the team, you can see here a lot of our senior leaders have been in the launch industry for quite some time and are well known in the industry in general. A lot of them have been building and launching rockets for quite some time, and in some cases are on their 3rd iteration of rocket design. So really bringing in some credibility and some best practices and procedures to our innovative and disruptive manufacturing process. And important to note too, we've recently grown our team to over 200 employees now. We actually onboarded approximately 90 people during the COVID pandemic, almost doubling the overall size of the company during COVID, which is pretty impressive. Next, I just wanted to briefly touch on some of our facilities. As I just mentioned, we have launch sites at Cape Canaveral, which is LC-16, and then we have the right of entry at a Vandenberg launch site on the west coast of the United States. We recently signed a new factory and headquarters in Long Beach, California. That's a 120,000 square foot facility that houses our 3rd generation printers, which are installed and online and operating right now and are actually printing flight hardware. And as I also mentioned, we do all of our engine testing at a NASA Stennis facility in Mississippi. So here's a quick snapshot of our headquarters in Long Beach. Again, we moved into that headquarters in January of this year, and are in the process of building out that factory as we speak, and are looking to and we're actually printing flight hardware as we speak. So as I mentioned, it's approximately just under 15,000 square meters of facility. And here's just an aerial snapshot of our footprint at the NASA Stennis facility. We actually have access to about 1/3 of the overall test sites at NASA Stennis, so it's been a great relationship with us, with NASA. And all these test sites are owned by Relativity, even though they're on the NASA property through a 20-year exclusive public-private partnership. And just a quick snapshot on our launch sites. So Cape Canaveral will be where LC-16 will be where we launch our first rocket. Our first test rocket is scheduled to launch in Q4 of next year. And so Cape Canaveral with Terran 1 can serve mid-inclination launches, so anywhere from 28.5 to 55 degrees. And then Vandenberg can serve 70 all the way to retrograde orbits, and most notably the sun synchronous orbits that Terran 1 is designed to support in a great way. And we anticipate Vandenberg to be activated about 12 months after our first test launch, so in the latter part of 2022. And then just a quick overview of Terran 1 itself. I will say for anyone on the phone that would like additional information on Terran 1 and performance, feel free to go to our website and download our payload users guide. But at a high level, it's a two-stage rocket with 9 Aeon-1 engines on the first stage, and then a similar similar Aeon-1 engine designed for the vacuum performance on the second stage. It does have a industry-leading fairing as well. It's just under 7 meters tall by 3 meters wide. And just a quick overview on performance. So we, as I mentioned earlier, it's designed to deliver about 900 kilograms to a 500 kilometer sun-sync orbit and about 1,250 kilograms to a 200 kilometer LEO orbit. So really on the highest edge of all small launchers out there. And just a quick snapshot of our upcoming launches. So as I mentioned, we're scheduled to have our first test flight in the latter part of 2021, and then we go into commercial services in 2022. And just another key differentiator for Terran 1 is our payload volume. It is the industry-leading volume out there between all the small launchers, and actually is in pretty well consistency with some of the larger launch vehicles as well. And so we are able to accommodate a wide variety of payload configurations and larger satellites such as Iridium. And then last, I just want to sum up, just to give you a quick overview of the progress we made since 2016, when the company was founded. So it started with a 3-person team back in 2016 and really set the seeds for the initial concept development. And then we rolled into technology development just a year later, starting to print some of the initial infrastructure. And then moving to 2018 with software and hardware prototyping, and now in 2019 actually printing the actual structures, and moving into 2020 starting to print flight hardware, which is pretty exciting. So we've made tremendous progress over the past 4 years. And that's all I had. I appreciate everyone's time and look forward to answering some questions.
Well, actually, I believe we will leave the questions to the end of all presentations. But your presentation was terrific. Thank you very much for that. It's really nice to see all this development in this kind of company. It's only 4 years old company, so it seems amazing. Congratulations for that. Perfect. So I'd like now to ask Alvin to show us what you brought to us, Alvin. So please, stage is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Jose. And again, I'd like to express my gratitude to the entire Brazilian Space Agency and for everyone that's made today possible. It's a great opportunity to get in front of the community as a whole, to express the importance of Brazil with respect to space and all of the great new opportunities that we're forecasting will soon be available. So my name is Alvin Alexander, of course, and in 2013, as a graduate student studying systems engineering at Johns Hopkins University, I came up with a concept for Orion Applied Science and Technology. But at the time, it was really just an idea of how to bring a technical solution to support a problem for which there were no technical solutions at that time. Orbital debris, given that mankind has been launching satellites into orbit for the better part of 60 years now, has accumulated, and with the pace of development and the efficiencies of accessing space, what we're seeing is a lot more crowding and congestion, particularly in low Earth orbit. And we believe that the debris detection and mitigation concepts that you'll see here today are going to be very valuable for the community going forward. As part of our organizational DNA, we've entered into some strategic partnerships with the University of Maryland. We're a full member of their Center for Orbital Debris Education and Research. I realize that's a mouthful, but CODER, based at their UMD campus in Maryland, one of the leading academic institutes for finding ways to deal with both from a mitigation perspective as well as remediation for all things orbital debris. We've also been working over the past several years to work with others in the space community and the space industry, most recently of which has been our association and affiliation with CompTIA Space Enterprise Council. Many of you are aware that the space operational environment is big. Space is big itself, and on a normal day, there's very little likelihood of one or more objects colliding or achieving any sort of debris-causing event. However, there is increasing risk to operational satellites. From a collection of ground-based radar over the years, we understand there's approximately 23,000 cataloged objects that are 10 centimeters or larger, and roughly 3,000 operational satellites relative to those defunct objects that no longer provide a service. We feel there's an enormous market to be able to help guide and influence launch windows, to provide services to other providers that are on orbit, so that if they are in the orbit where a small 1 centimeter sized object that may not necessarily be made out of metal, it could be rubber or insulation or foam, but nevertheless equally as destructive or damaging to operational satellites, we believe we're going to be able to show where those objects are relative to the assets that the new space industry is looking to commercialize. Here's a snapshot of one of our constellation, and what you'll see here most prominently is a daisy chain of small satellites, roughly 70 kilograms, fully fueled. We're going to place them in an equatorial orbit at 0 degrees, knowing that the majority of the debris is in a sun-synchronous orbit, and we'll be able to capture the vast majority, if not all, of those debris objects, as well as operational objects, continuously. There's going to be about 40 of these small satellites operating at an altitude of roughly 500 kilometers, and you'll notice the detection sensitivities that to be able to get down to millimeter resolutions at 10 kilometers, that's absolutely phenomenal. So what this shows is that we'll have the on-orbit abilities to show where debris objects are relative to one another, have the orbital infrastructure as well as the ground architecture to accommodate the massive data volumes that will be coming back down to the Earth, and to make all that data available to our clients in near real time. Now, recently, there's been a couple of news stories that I wanted to share as I was preparing for today's discussion. Most prominently, the Vatican was able to talk to the UN and encourage the UN to try to find a solution for orbital debris that would allow for each country to safely use and operate space, understanding that it is a valuable resource, that there are many dependencies to which, without the current satellite systems, life here on Earth would not be as valuable as what we have today. We want to be able to treat Earth's orbit as a natural extension of the global environment, and it does require care and maintenance. And again, that's where a company such as ours feel we can certainly provide awareness. Additionally, there's been just earlier this week, I believe it was, when two 70 kilogram, large 70 kilogram pieces of junk were able to narrowly avoid collision, but one was a defunct Soviet satellite, the other an upper stage rocket from China. And it was sheer luck that they missed one another. But at some point, luck is going to run out, and as a community, we cannot rely upon luck to avoid conjunctions. We have to leverage technology, leverage science, and leverage strategic partnerships in order to get to the greater good. I believe that's my last slide. However, I do look forward to your questions at the end of today's discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin. Oh, this is also an amazing topic. It's really interesting that we are always trying to deliver some artificial satellites to our orbit to increase our communications, our technology. But how many pieces are still there? How many dead satellites we have there? How many junk, as you called, is there? So it's amazing. It's really a topic that if someone does not take care of it, we might see some problems in a short future for sure. Thank you very much for your presentation. Good. And so last but not least, Guillermo, could you please show us your presentation, talk about what your company is doing in this business?
Hi, hello, boa tarde. I don't know if you are able to listen to me well. I have now some issues. Well, first of all, thank you very much for this moderation, and to the Brazilian Space Agency for organizing this amazing forum. I am Guillermo Lamelas, CEO of Allen Space. At Allen Space, we provide solutions based on small satellites, meaning that we design, we manufacture, and we operate satellites to try to put into orbit the business of our clients. Our team has been leading the nanosatellite revolution for the last 13 years. Actually, back in 2012, we launched the first nanosatellite in the history of Spain, Satcobeo. And from them, many other satellites, all of them successful in their missions. Taking into account that history, I have to say that we are a young company. We only have 2 years as a company, but the team that has come into the company has got 13 years, no? And in these missions we have now in the screen. The first of them was Satcobeo. That was the mission inside the University of Vigo that made able the building of this team. No? The main focus of Satcobeo, besides being able to demonstrate the technology, was to being able to demonstrate that small satellites, CubeSats, could also be built following professional standards. No? And that was the main reason for Satcobeo. Here we applied and we adapted the demanding quality standards of the European Space Agency to the manufacturing of small satellites. Based on the great success of Satcobeo, we got a project funded by the United Nations, this was meant to be a humanitarian satellite in order to provide IoT communications to areas where disasters had happened. That one was also a great success, and this supposed that the University of Vigo and this team finally was selected to work in Serpens, the Brazilian Space Agency project, in a project that supposed a great milestone for our team, and that probably served as a lever to be where we are today. No? Our purpose in Serpens was to be able to provide IoT communications to different sensors in the Amazon's basin, and it was another, and we have been involved in other projects. For example, something that is here is DustCube. This was a project between a collaboration between NASA and ESA, and the main purpose was to to be able to, well, to check if we could be able to move from its trajectory an asteroid that was going to impact the Earth. No? I don't know if you have in mind, but there is this film called Armageddon, the satellite, well, with the asteroid. The purpose of that cube was to be able to get close to the satellite, to the asteroid, sorry, while an artifact by NASA was impacting the asteroid. And this small satellite would be able, being very close to the asteroid, to capture the effects of that impact, and if that could be used to, in the future, be able to change the direction of an asteroid. Well, then you have two other satellites. One was for commercial usage in a constellation for IoT. I cannot disclose anything here. And the last one is a satellite called Lume 1, funded by the European government, and with a mission to fight forest fires. Lume 1 is currently flying, and beyond that that mission, it is also carrying applications for spectrum monitoring and also for airplane tracking. No? All these applications are able to run in a single payload and a software-defined radio that is called Totem. We keep building new applications on Totem. Totem is our flagship product regarding our technology. We have been working with several launchers, and as I said, with key partners. What to say? I guess you are familiar with this, no? But in the end, data and services from space every day have a bigger impact in our lives. And many of these services can only be offered with satellites. Satellites during the last decades have been very expensive and only affordable by big space agencies or by huge companies with huge funding resources. Somehow nanosatellites, small satellites, change the game. As you see here, well, conventional satellites, besides being big, that is not the point, and being expensive, here something that I would like to touch is that they have a very long time to market. You know? From the time the needs are identified to the time the satellite is launched, well, typically we can have 5 years at least. No? With nanosatellites, well, they are smaller, they are cheaper also because of standardization and mass production. But the main point, the key point I could say, that is time to market. In less than a year, we can have the nanosatellite that is able to answer to the needs of our clients. No? And well, it's not just a matter of cost or price. When we think of satellites, given that cost also, we think of many times on constellations, no? Groups of nanosatellites that are coordinated to offer a single service. This opens the way to new services, or opens the way to complement current deployed services, and offers two very interesting characteristics. No? On the one side, it offers resiliency, in the sense that the constellation, compared to a single satellite, in the case of an impact in a satellite or a damage, if that satellite stops working, the rest of the constellation is able to cope with it and to keep the service intact. No? And another very interesting characteristic is that each satellite or each group of satellites in the constellation is renewed every 3 to 5 years. This means that every 3 to 5 years, a new bunch of satellites is joining the constellation with new technology and with new characteristics able to improve the services and to meet the always growing demands of the clients of that service. Somehow this means that we end, or constellations of satellites end with the concept of lifespan in conventional satellites or in isolated satellites. When one of these huge and expensive satellites ends its life, you have to be prepared to launch a new one or totally forget about the services. In the case of a constellation, you will be keeping it updated continuously. Let's see if this works. Well, services that can be offered with satellites, well, can be somehow allocated into these families: Earth observations, asset tracking, airplanes, ships, spectrum monitoring. I mean, being able to see what is happening with radio signals on Earth and also on the sky. This has many applications from security to defense, weather forecasts, and for sure IoT communications. Some other applications or groups of applications for sure are in the field of in-orbit demonstration. I mean, to try new technologies in space, and also for space discovery, to try to explore new things and new challenging topics in the space. Well, with all this introduction, what do we offer? Well, what we are a one-stop shop somehow, in the sense that we can offer to our clients all the way from the polishment of their needs, transforming them into requirements, to the in-orbit operation of the constellation they require. This means that we will add our way of working, our quality already proven processes. We will add our technology, our hardware, and our software, and put all together in order to somehow let our clients focus on their business and forget about all the hassles regarding space, and all the technology and knowledge that has to be put in play in order to be able to deploy a successful mission. Besides that, complete services, we offer standalone products. In this case, well, as I said, our flagship product is Totem, our software-defined radio. And over Totem, we offer several ready-to-launch solutions that are composed of Totem plus the software that makes those protocols available. In this case, we have already ready-to-launch solutions and solutions flying for airplane tracking, the ADS-B, for ship tracking, AIS, for spectrum monitoring, for IoT, and we keep working on new solutions based on the needs of our clients and partners. We also can integrate Earth observation capacities on our satellites, and we work with a full range of platforms. We also offer training satellites for universities mainly, and data handling subsystems from the core of the satellite with onboard computer to high data rates links. We also include ground segment equipment with ground segment stations and SDR racks, and training packages for system engineering, operations, assembly, integration, and verification. If you put these are like different pieces in a Lego, that we always select, well, each time we work with a different client, we select what kind of pieces they need, and we offer exactly what they need. As I said, currently we have Lume 1 flying. This is a satellite owned by the University of Vigo. Lume 1 is flying 3 different applications, all of them tried, tested, and working well in orbit. And well, based on all I have said, we offer ready-to-launch solutions, meaning that we offer anything that is required, as I said, from the idea, the technology, the operation, and the data delivery in these different sectors. To put an example, I could go for what we consider our ready-to-launch solution for universities that we call Fast Track to Space. And in this case, what we offer to universities is well, anything they need to meet their goals. Keeping in mind that the main goals would be, on the one hand, maximizing the impact in students of the mission. I mean, in training, the impact in excellent training, and also having a successful mission. No? In this sense, we go with them through all the process. We train the students. We offer the technology that is required to put in place the mission, and we also take care of all those things that are more administrative, like looking for the right frequencies, looking for the right launch, and that in the end doesn't offer any value to all the all the learning experience, no? And well, as I said, we try to do a 360 degrees approach to this support to universities in order to make the biggest of the impact they look for. I would like to end just to say, given that we are in Brazil, we are not além space, like some people say, we are além space. Além, like in Brazilian, além means beyond. And well, the reason is that we are based in Galicia, northwest of Spain. Here we talk Galician, that is very similar to Portuguese, and we are proud of having this in our name. Well, thank you very much. I don't know if I have kept the time I had, but open to questions.
Thank you, Guillermo. Amazing. Sorry by the name. So além in Portuguese, as you mentioned, is beyond, the same thing. So now it's more clear. So, and it's amazing how easier is becoming to launch new satellites to the space. So it's becoming faster, it's becoming cheaper, it's becoming easier. So yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe Alvin will have some issues to deal with in the future, to deal with all these parts around the globe. Good.
Business opportunities.
All right. Exactly. So I'd like to jump to some questions here. We have received several of them. I'm quite sure that we will not be able to answer all of them, but I'm sure that the presenters will answer them afterwards. So I'm trying to select some of them here. I'd like to first of all start with one question to all three of you. It's the following one. What should we expect about regulatory framework and international collaboration regarding all this space business, all these satellites launches and the junk which is still there? So what should we expect from this side, from regulatory framework and international collaboration? Francis, do you have any topic or any answer for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can speak generally from the launch community. There's always been a fair amount of collaboration between U.S. launchers and international companies at a larger scale. And and quite frankly, vice versa. So I mean, I think what we at Relativity, what we are trying to do is engage with a variety of international customers and space agencies to understand their requirements and help them help them get access to space. So I think in any ways that we can help them from a U.S. launcher perspective, reduce their barrier to entry to get their satellites into space is kind of our key vantage point. But we've had a variety of success working with a variety of international customers and space agencies. So it's really understanding the requirements and their restrictions and helping them get their satellites into space.
Perfect. So Alvin, do you see anything regarding your topic, your company, about framework, this regulatory framework, how it should work, or how you see this development in the future?
Right. No, thank you. So clearly, policy initiatives such as the Technology Safeguard Agreement, that is absolutely central to facilitating and enabling companies such as ours to even present these services to the community. I anticipate that going forward, there will be additional such agreements from governments at a multilateral nation, because the topic of orbital debris mitigation and remediation is so important to the community. But even still, that only opens the door. I certainly believe that it'll be a community industry-led activity to both make the business case for companies such as ours, but also to show how we're going to help support and enable companies like Relativity and others as they're planning their launch cycles.
Perfect. Thank you. Guillermo, anything to add on this topic?
Well, what I would say is that for sure cooperation is key here, and for sure agreements in a multilateral level are key. I think there is a lot of movement on this on the side of Europe. There is a lot of focus and concern on this, and well, things are to come, but for sure there is a lot of space to companies like Orion. Are key here, because we need a sustainable space, no? Otherwise it's not going to work. On our small size, from our point of view, at least what we do is any satellite with design is designed to re-enter. So in order to avoid as much as possible to become space debris. And, well, that is what we do.
Okay, perfect. I think this is kind of part of the answer for the next question I have selected here. Someone wrote us the following question to Guillermo. Could the small satellites constellation be a problem in the future? Do you think they could increase the space junk?
Okay, of course they could. They could unless they are well designed. I mean, anything that you put up there can become a space junk, even if you design it well, because there may be a crash and a satellite that is like this becomes 10 pieces. But, things have to be done in order to prevent that from happening. And when it happens, we will have companies like Orion to help solve the problem. What is true is that the possibilities that this revolution opened should not be closed, no, or should not be prevented. What we have to do is to put all the tools we can put it on the table to mitigate that kind of bad effects. No?
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. And now coming back to Alvin, regarding again this topic, because it seems they are, I'm not sure if it is the same person who made those two questions, but it seems to be a little bit provocative. So the question now is for you, Alvin, is there any real ready to launch project to clean up our orbit with all this junk?
Right, so that's a great question. Let me just answer by, there's a remediation solution where a company would physically interact with a piece of debris and attempt to remove that debris object from orbit. But then there's mitigation, which is where our focus is at the moment. Certainly and clearly, there are a number of remediation solutions out there, which we encourage, because that does eventually have to occur. But on the mitigation side, being able to show in near real time where objects are relative to one another, that would provide the community with the ability to maneuver out of the way, days, if not weeks in advance of a potential threat, or to allow the risk managers in each of those companies to then assess the threat. Is it a potential conjunction between a metal ball bearing, or is it foam? And if that's going to have any meaningful impact, do they accept the risk? Do they conduct a maneuver to get out of the way? That's what we're trying to provide to the community, to help make informed decisions, informed by way of mitigation.
Okay, thank you very much. Amazing. Francis, another question to you now. What's your vision, or what's the vision from relativity space regarding the creation of business models in developing countries such as Brazil? How do you see this interaction with us, for example?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I mean, I think it, at the first order, it's us helping agencies like Brazil specifically to get their technology into space if they need that. But I think from a larger partnership perspective, it's seeing how we can leverage our manufacturing technologies, our automation, those type of technologies on a partnership level. How can we work with the Brazil Space Agency or other agencies within Brazil and other countries to that they can benefit from the technology that we're developing. Obviously, there's regulatory requirements and restrictions associated with that, but I think that it's a larger story than just launch for us. We've had a number of discussions with the Brazil Space Agency and other international space agencies about collaboration and bringing our technology into their specific country and having them utilize it and grow from it, and then learning from some of the specific requirements in these individual countries.
Perfect. Yeah, good to hear that. Good. So, gentlemen, I think we are approaching to the end of our session. As I mentioned, there are some other questions. I'm sure that organization will send to you, and you have the chance to answer all of them to our audience. But before finishing, I'd like to have your final words, final statements. So take your time. So Guillermo, please.
Okay, well, I think actually my final words could be very, very related to your last question to relativity, and I think new space opens a lot of doors, especially to countries that are in development, at least in some parts, especially some parts of the economy, in the sense that there is a huge reduction in the barriers, in the cost barriers to start a business model. I don't say it's cheap, but the order of magnitude is totally different. And also, it is much more open to lean methodologies, in the sense that you can try a service with just €500,000 or dollars, and that wasn't possible a few years ago. I mean, $500,000 is a lot of money, but I don't know the prices in Brazil. Sure. But here in Spain, in Madrid, you cannot buy a flat for that. But you can have a satellite flight and starting a new business. So in that sense, the barriers are dropping so fast that are opening the opportunities to match many entrepreneurs all around the world, or to match many companies with need to innovate, or to match many universities trying to build new careers. So I think opportunities are huge, And I guess that the countries that has been a bit behind this space career, no, that I mean everyone, but the U.S. I think had a lot to win from these new technologies and approaches.
Oh, perfect. So that's a very important tip for the young people. So what to do with your first $1 million? Do not buy a house, buy a satellite. That's amazing.
No, but you can buy two. You can buy two. You can buy two.
You can buy two, right? You can buy two. So Alvin, please, your last comments, please.
Yes or no. I'd like to talk on the topic of the velocity of change. We're going to see a lot of change over the next several years across the community. I believe that Brazil is well poised to be the hub of the commercial sector across the globe because of the relationships that are being established, both government to government as well as commercially. I see there being new business models that we couldn't have envisioned 10, 15 years ago that are emerging due to my co-panelists that are with me here today, as well as many others. A lot of new entrepreneurs, new ideas, new concepts. Everyone has to overcome certain barriers to entry, of course, capital being the highest. But in my experience, the strategic relationships and partnerships is every bit as valuable as capital investment. Clearly, we wouldn't have made it this far without the good grace and goodwill of others. And I just want to foot stomp one of the key people as part of our team is a gentleman by the name of Patrick Jepson. Patrick Jepson served in Buckingham Palace, and he was the chief of staff of Princess Diana, where he met his wife, Mary Jo Jacoby. And Patrick and Mary Jo both live here in right outside of Washington, D.C. They're part of our team. And in a million years, I never would have imagined coming across such very distinguished, very capable individuals, and many more. We have at least 30 folks that are supporting this activity. I share that because I also know over the past year, in talking to folks from Brazil and elsewhere, it's really the personalities and the relationships. The technology is impressive, but the people are more so. And that's what's going to see us through to the next breakthrough. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you very much. And I hope you're right. I hope our countries keep a nice and good relationship, no matter who is in the power, who is going to win the next elections. I know you guys in the US, you are facing this exactly now. So let's wish you a little bit of luck for all of us.
Yes, sir.
So Francis, please.
Yeah, thank you. I know we're running short on time, but I want to say that I agree that our industry that we're in is seeing tremendous growth, tremendous innovation from all portions of the industry in general. So I look forward to working with the people on this panel, as well as continue the dialogue with the Brazilian Space Agency as well. It's been a pleasure to speak with you guys, and I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone here today. It's been a great honor.
Amazing. Thank you very much. So thank you guys for all your presentations, all your informations. It was really a classroom where we could learn a lot from your speech, from your presentations, how the business is developing, how this new business model are being created around the world, new problems that some people are not aware about, like the junk in space, or how to build constellation of satellites. I think this is the first time I heard about it. So this sounds to be really, really, really amazing. So that was an excellent live. I'm sure that you guys will receive the questions, so you have the chance to answer. So I'd like to thanks again to the agency, the Brazilian Space Agency, again for the opportunity to be here with all those colleagues. And I want to get back now to the organization. Thank you very much, guys.
That's okay. We are so grateful for your commitment with this panel. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bom, e assim então nós encerramos o 4º Fórum da Indústria Espacial Brasileira, que nesse ano trouxe conteúdos valiosos, riquíssimos, sobre tecnologias espaciais aplicadas ao seu negócio. Lembrando que depois você vai receber aí o link com toda a nossa programação do Fórum. E nós seguimos por aqui. O Fórum acabou, mas a feira, a 7ª RM Vale TI, continua. Temos mais 2 painéis nesta tarde com o tema varejo. Então, nós nos encontramos daqui a pouco às 13h15 para o nosso próximo painel, mostrando como melhorar a experiência de compra com o uso da tecnologia autônoma. Até já!
O Grupo Energy Telecom, através de suas 4 empresas, atua em todo o Brasil, integrando os principais serviços e soluções quando pensamos em tecnologia. Projetos de Public Cloud, comunicação unificada, Big Data, infraestrutura, Data Center, Client License, Cybersecurity e educação. Você pode contar com o Grupo Energy Telecom. Sempre a melhor solução.
Nós protegemos a tecnologia para você explorar novas realidades. Fazer o que quiser, quando quiser. Fazer amigos virtuais. Estar perto, mesmo estando longe. E conquistar novas fronteiras. Garantimos sua segurança digital para um futuro melhor. Kaspersky. Bring on the future.
Vale do Paraíba, uma região única com múltiplas vocações. A nossa é a tecnologia, é a inovação. Nós somos a NIP-BR. Trabalhamos para integrar, conectar, expandir, informar, entreter. A NIP-BR é solução corporativa, é internet, TV por assinatura, é telefonia digital. Os melhores serviços com o melhor custo-benefício. NIP-BR, sua melhor opção em internet, telefonia e TV por assinatura.
Você é daqueles que acham que ser moderno é ter um aplicativo para cuidar do seu dinheiro? É também. Agora, moderno mesmo é fazer parte de um grupo de pessoas que cooperam e crescem juntas.
Tem gente que acha que um bom atendimento é ter um gerente pronto para te ajudar. Nada mal, né? Mas pra gente ter voz e participar das decisões relacionadas ao nosso dinheiro.
Tem gente que acha que somos um banco. Somos muito mais. Somos feitos de valores.
Our infrastructure and natural resources can't keep up with growing demands. We need to be smarter. We need to care more. It's time to create smart infrastructure. We can because we connect energy systems, buildings, and industries to adapt and evolve the way we live and work for the good of the planet and the people. Creating environments that care. Smart infrastructure from Siemens.
A maior rede de pesquisas do mundo, com 5,5 bilhões de acessos por dia. Uma rede social avaliada em 70,7 milhões. Sabe qual a semelhança entre essas empresas? O investimento em softwares e algoritmos inteligentes. Tinova e SPS.
Na era da transformação digital, a Tria Software é o seu parceiro ideal. Trabalhamos com a aplicação de solução em software padronizada ou sob medida para melhorar o desempenho dos processos de sua empresa. Tria Software.